Hello, hams and electronics enthusiasts the world over. I'm Dave Casler, amateur radio call sign K-180WLA, here with another episode of Ask Dave. What I've been asked to do in this particular episode is review a receive-only loop antenna. This is made by the Chinese manufacturer GOOZEEZOO. And this is an active antenna. It's a loop antenna. Now, I've done 3 of these before, and they're all 3 feet in diameter. One is from MFJ, one is from W6 LVP, and the other's from Chameleon antennas. And the latter is still up on my roof and feeds down in here, and in fact is what we will compare this to. This is smaller. It's only about a 24-inch loop. It's designed primarily for shortwave listeners, but there are a lot of ham radio HF receivers, like my FTDX 3000 up there, that have a separate port for receive-only antenna. And the question is, why would you do that? Well, I'll tell you why. There are many reasons. If your transmitting antenna can go anywhere, it doesn't matter how much noise it receives because it's only going to transmit. But a receive antenna can be directional, and these are directional, and you can get the orientation on it just right so that you can eliminate a source of interference. For example, if there's a power line that has a bunch of interference coming from it, or a nearby broadcast station or something like that, you can null it out. Let's see what they've sent. Okay, this is the GOOZEEZOO K-180WLA active loop shortwave antenna. All right. And this is what it comes with. This is the Amazon slip from GOOZEEZOO. And then here is a fairly thorough instruction manual telling you what to do. Now, this particular lead-in cable is about 35 to 40 feet, okay? And it's got an odd connector on here that actually threads on. It's a type of BNC connector that threads on, and that will go up on the antenna. Now, the reason that they do this with an active preamp is because the antenna is not very big, but it is very broadband. So what you want is an amplifier that can send the amplified signal down here to this little device right here, and then this goes from here to your radio, and there's all kinds of adapters and stuff. Now, let's take a look at what's in the box. We've got a piece of cable, which is the lead-in cable. This is the preamp that goes right at the antenna. This is what's called a bias T. This puts DC power onto the antenna so that it will power this right here. Puts it over the coax. So the coax has double use, both as a DC from outside to center conductor. We'll send DC up to here, and then there's a capacitor coming off of each one, so you can actually feed the signal from this over this too. And then one of these goes to the antenna, the other goes to the radio, and you've got a charge right there, and then the RF gain. When you push the RF gain power, you get low, medium, high, and off again. So if you want it on high, you need to press that 3 times. And should remember to turn it off again. On high, it runs only several hours before the battery needs recharging. So we'll get this out there. Now we've got little pieces of pipe, 20 times 2 millimeters. Okay, so this is metric. This will be the top one right here. It's got a slit in the side that we put the top of the antenna through, and then this holds it in place. We have connectors between the pipes. Now you can, if you want, go ahead and cement these up, but then it's no longer small enough to fit in a box. Here is the antenna itself. We're about to take this apart. It's got a couple loops here that will go into these wing nut things here. Then they give you the hardware right here so that this will clamp to this. Okay, pretty sturdy looking stuff actually. And then there is an adapter. These are SMA microwave connectors. They're female. That one is female, and that one is female too. Now you're given 2 connectors to go to your radio. One is SMA on both ends. These are male on both ends. And then this one is male on one end and a mono jack that you can use to plug into some receivers, shortwave receivers that use this as their antenna input. There is a charging cable, but nothing to plug into the outlet. And then these right here are for attaching this to whatever you're going to attach it to hold it up. All right, let's see how this goes together. First of all, we can do the antenna that's going to go in here. And when we take the last off, this thing's going to spring open. It is made of spring steel, okay? Now, spring steel is not the world's best conductor. It would be nice if this were copper or aluminum, but you can't get the springiness if you do that. I do not know of any kind of spring copper. Now, this thing kind of comes open like that. Now, we're going to put this through the top right here. Okay. Put a cap over it. And now we put these in here. The distance from the tip to where this goes is 68 centimeters. Let's open this little bag. One of the things that's nice about the Chinese manufacturers is that they're very careful during shipping that most everything be wrapped in plastic. So we'll take this up here and put this down over the top of it. Okay, and we'll take these off. Unfortunately, these need to come all the way off, which means you're kind of juggling. Now there is a lock washer and two flat washers. Pull this down here. This goes over this. We've got the other washer, other flat washer, the little lock washer. Okay, and we'll repeat the process with this one. It wants to turn this. No, that won't do it. That won't do it either. Well, let's just put her on. This is very strange. I shouldn't be getting that kind of a twist in it. And I'm wondering, because if I let it just go, see, and then I just straight unwind it, it should go on here without a problem. Okay, that's not what I'd call perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Now it's a little bit oval the other way. That shouldn't change much. There's a switch inside here that changes the type of listening that you're doing. So we have to take this apart. I'm using just a standard size Phillip. It's not exactly fitting right, but it will do. Now, see the switch? There's a little switch right there. Okay, now inside the potted part here is ballon and all that sort of stuff like that. And that's the actual preamp, which might be a double-sided board. Note that there is right here, this is a lightning discharge tube. Okay, so if the voltage across this gets too high, that will short it. So it's almost somewhat like a built-in electrical surge protector. Instructions for using the built-in switch of the preamplifier. Adds an FMDX and HF switches to the RF box, which can adjust the HF and FM band gain. When the antenna is installed close to the FM radio transmitter, which is definitely not the case here, the super FM signal will block the front stage and reduce the signal to noise ratio. At this time, you can adjust the switch to the HF position. Doesn't show you which one is the HF position. Be increased. The default position is FMD FMDX. Right there you see FMDX at the bottom. And the switch is down there. And it's a two-position switch. So up here, it says HF. We're going to use this for HF, so I'll put that in the HF position. Now they say when you put this back, make sure you get it right because of this gasket that's right here. It claims will be waterproof. I can guarantee you with time in a humid environment, you'll get water in there no matter how beautiful the gasket is. And the reason for that is because as air cools down at night, the pressure goes down, tends to suck in water vapor, which is in the air. Now, if you're in a dry climate like I am, this won't be a problem for you. Now, one of the problems with the cable lengths on this is they're pretty short. And one of the reasons for that, I think, is because of the very tiny coax. It's not very thick at all. On the ones from Chameleon, W6LVP, and MFJ, you can put just regular old ordinary coax. You have to supply it yourself. Okay, now what we're going to do is this long one is going to screw on there. This is a different kind of connector. It's like a BNC, but notice that it has threads. Okay, let's go get this outside somewhere. Okay, I'm going to just use this as the entrance because this is a temporary setup that's to keep rodents out, insects and whatnot. And we're going to stick this end in several feet. Okay, I'm going to connect this in here like that. This is not waterproof, by the way, so you want to wrap that with some tape if it's a permanent installation. Now, what I'm going to do, put that in there. These are aluminum. Some are fiberglass. These are designed to make poles to hold up camouflage netting. Right there. And take it up. Obviously, this is a very temporary setup. Let's see how it works. So it's going to receive best east to west. Let's go see. We're going to connect this to the antenna like that. Now, we'll get on the computer. SDR Connect. We've got the RSPS Duo in the single mode or in the double mode. Okay. And now we're going to start it. Okay, let's turn this on. Now look at all the stuff we see with this. This is on 2. This is with 1 level. Here's the next level and the next level. Okay, the top one here is the Chameleon receive-only antenna across 20 meters. Not much is happening right now. Let's find a signal, a nice strong signal here. So let's take a look. We're down here. This number varies quite a bit, as you might expect, and this number right here varies quite a bit, as you might expect also. So what's on top of the roof is a Chameleon, which we're using as our reference antenna, and on the bottom is this GOOZEEZOO K-180WLA, okay? And as you can see, they look very similar. Now what I'm going to do is take a couple screenshots because it's real hard to look at these signal strength levels and the signal to noise ratio levels because they're hopping around so much. Here we see this is at the point where it starts. Okay, we've got minus 79.7 dBm. This is minus 78.6 dBm, which is actually a larger number because we're dealing with negative numbers here. Okay, this is a win for the little GOOZEEZOO. All right, now the signal to noise ratio is 27.5 here, it's 31.2 here. That's half an S unit stronger in terms of signal to noise ratio. So let's go to the next one. and we get minus 86.3, minus 87.3. This is the stronger signal up here by an entire dB, which is 1/6 of an S unit. Still, again, we have a higher signal-to-noise ratio here than here. Okay, let's now go to the next one. Minus 79, minus 81. Here the Chameleon wins by about 2.5 dB, which is half an S unit. And the signal-to-noise ratios are essentially the same. Here's our fourth one, minus 85.7 to minus 85.6. They're identical. 22, 24. This has got about half an S unit better signal-to-noise ratio. And our last one is minus 85.6, minus 86.2. This is better by less than a dB. And the signal-to-noise ratio is slightly better on the GOOZEEZOO. All right, so what have we discovered about this antenna? The first thing we've discovered is that it works. It's only 16 feet at the base of it, out there, away from the house, whereas the Chameleon is up on the roof with a view 360 degrees around. They're both oriented in the same direction, which is the loops are in the same plane, which means they're receiving pretty much off the ends on HF. On VHF, it will tend to receive ahead and behind. Now, the Chameleon is for HF. The little GOOZEEZOO goes up and includes FM and things like that. We're not going to worry about that today. We're interested in the ham applications. Now, this is a receive-only antenna, okay? So you don't ever transmit into it because you can ruin the preamp that's out by the antenna. Now, when you're receiving strong FM stations, you can switch that thing out there and it will receive the FM stations, it says, fairly well. I suspect it will. It's a nice little antenna. It's interesting that it's only 2 feet around in the loop, I think, and whereas the one on the roof is 3 feet around. And this has the latest preamp from Chameleon up there, and this is what I get from GOOZEEZOO. There's one other thing we've got to look at here, and that is this. How much does it cost? K-180WLA. Okay, this is the antenna right here. It's got 4.5 stars. Here's all the various parts to it that you've got right here that we've looked at. It's a receiving antenna, and make sure that you just connect the charging cable to 5 volts. Here's 2 of them set up side by side. Okay, so we're at $69 right now. They have them in stock, okay? It ships from Amazon, okay? So they're already in the United States. I suspect that what they would have done would have been to have brought a bunch over before the tariffs started. They provide you with a charging cable. Notice this is a mini USB. This is not a USB-C. Most stuff these days is coming out with USB-C. So if I could make a recommendation to GOOZEEZOO, it's to change this little USB to a USB-C. Okay, so we'll turn that off. So this antenna appears to be very broadly similar to the larger and more expensive Chameleon antenna, and it's picking up quite a bit. So for shortwave listening, or if for some reason you've got a rig that's got a separate receive input, and you want to null out a station that's interfering with you, you can use this. Of course, you'd have to have somebody rotate that antenna by hand to get it just where you want it. Now, one thing I'd like to point out about this antenna is that I compared it with the MLA 30 Plus antenna that's widely available from Chinese distributors. And in doing the comparison, I've got another video on that coming up. This antenna, the GOOZEEZOO antenna, performed significantly better across the board, about a half S unit better everywhere. The signal-to-noise ratio was also better too. So this antenna is only $5 more than that MLA 30 Plus. So I'd recommend getting the GOOZEEZOO antenna. I wish I knew how to pronounce that. Yes, I do recommend it. It's about good price for the money. I'm going to review another one I got off of Amazon in the next video, and we'll take it from there. So here's something that you can use for shortwave listening or for listening across the ham bands. This will also listen to the air bands, which are AM. It'll listen to commercial broadcast. It goes up to 180 megahertz. Okay, so it'll receive 2 meters as well. Now, again, that's FM, so you're moving into looking through the loop rather than out the sides. So there you have it. Now, let me ask you a question. What would you do with 8 quarters? 8 of them. Not very much money, is it? Well, if you were to go to Patreon, patreon.com/K-180WLA, you can sign up for the lowest level for just 8 quarters a month. And it supports me, provides channel revenue, so I can buy other antennas to compare things with, and so on. So I invite you to do that, to go to patreon.com/K-180WLA and sign up at the lowest level for just 8 quarters a month. You can be a supporter, and your name will be listed at the end of every video. So, until we next meet, 73.